Judge.
No.
The Orioles are walking him, they're hitting him, they're doing whatever they can to make sure he doesn't get the record. But Pujols, everybody's like, yeah, let him swing away. I don't know.
Well, I got to give one of the Orioles pitchers credit. He struck him out 3 times in one game. So
Impressive.
not everybody was dodging Judge. I think a lot of that was the pressure, and I'm very happy that he got it, by the way.
I am
think
too.
it was very cool that Roger Maris's family was there. I think that just showed a lot of respect for the game and how far the game's come.
Well, although I am definitely not a Yankees fan, and some would say the biggest hater in the world, I think it's awesome that the legitimate top 3 home run totals is Babe Ruth was 60, Maris was 61, Judge was 62. You got 3 Yankees lined up there, and pretty awesome.
And that is pretty cool. I just can't wait to see what he does in the postseason and see if because I think he might hit another.
A week ago, he texted his hitting coach and said, I was watching some film, and I think I found a problem with the swing, and made the adjustment. One of the things, and I don't know if you saw the home run last night, but, man, it was right down the middle.
Yeah.
But 15 opposite field home runs by Judge.
Yeah.
How many do you think that Maris hit?
Don't you?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you had,
I don't know if
you
they
had a
tracked
stat
it.
of the day for it.
But
Maris wasn't an
in
all
the
fields
day,
guy.
Yeah, but nobody hit opposite field home runs back in those days. The ball didn't carry like that. So I had to look that up, and there was all sorts of charts and graphs, and so I counted them. 15 oppos for Judge.
And this is something that I had a friend, Matt, send me a message yesterday that he had the same number of strikeouts, 167 going into yesterday's game, as Tony Gwynn had for the entire 1990s.
Oh, wow.
That was the best hitter of all time in my books.
Well, but, and then I started to think about it, so I flipped the stat around, and it turns out that Judge having 62 home runs, it took halfway through Tony Gwynn's 12th season for him to hit 62 home runs. So it's a comparable stat, either way you'd like to go on that.
That's pretty cool.
So I found this afternoon, just briefly. On April 26, 1992, a baby was born to parents that didn't want him. Fortunately, the child was chosen to give up for adoption, and Patty and Wayne Judge went on to adopt him and raise him. And this 30-year-old, 6'7", 282-pound man.
What a monster!
Quite a testimony for just adoption.
Absolutely, the Gerald Ford of our generation. I'll say this for Judge. Can you imagine adopting a child and then having him look like Judge? You and your wife are just normal. She's 5'6", you're 5'10" and a half,
7.
and then all of a sudden this kid grows up and he's like 9 kids. I got to keep feeding him.
Yeah,
what a monster he is.
And he's a free agent, so they're saying
that's the best part about it all.
$300 million could be,
Oh, absolutely.
what he hits.
There's nothing better in sport to me than a guy who bets on himself. Hey, I think you're lowballing me. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to turn in my best season of all time, and somebody's going to pay.
It's very hard. Very hard for me to understand the concept. You're lowballing me at $300 million.
And you can think that, but at the same time, when you're poor, it all seems like a ton of money. But the difference in what he was offered before this year and what he's going to get offered after this year is probably going to be at least $75 million difference. At least 70.
I would think so.
Yeah. So that's money. You could have the dumbest great grandkid of all time, and your generational wealth still, takes care of it because you bet on yourself.
That's cool.
I love it.
So, do we need to pick a winner now before the playoffs start? Do we need to pick a Major League Baseball World Series champion right now?
Bubba?
I think we should.
Bubba, I picked my pick before the season started.
The Braves?
Yes.
FSU.
Not FSU. Not Kansas City.
I think I'm going to go. I mean, I'd like to see the Braves win again, obviously, but I don't want to just take the Braves.
You're the kiss of death.
Hometown.
We don't want the kiss of death.
Yeah.
But it can't be the Cardinals, can't be the Yankees, can't be the Mets.
You can pick,
but pick whoever you want. Yeah.
You can pick whoever you want.
I'm going to say the Yankees, just because.
I think the Yankees are the worst bet to make because they played so poorly, and got to watch out for those cheaters in Houston.
Braves bullpen. You know, I mean, it's amazing when the lights go out and the cell phones come on, and that atmosphere is
absolutely
unparalleled. It's there's nothing like it.
It is.
I heard this weekend at Truist Park was electric. I didn't go, but I heard it was an amazing time to be there.
No, it's
a lot of posts on Facebook about it. Well, people post on Facebook like nobody would know that the Braves won if you weren't on Facebook.
So the thing that I look for every year in the postseason is situational hitting, and it may be that's that I'm a dinosaur and that's not how the game is played.
You are,
but you have a certain approach at the plate for 162 games, and then when the playoffs come and you're facing the number 1 and number 2 pitcher 2 or 3 2 times a series, you got to get on base, you got to get runners over, and I don't know, but Dansby hit those 3 homers and
won in every game this weekend.
I mean, situational hitting is take the ball the other way, work the count, take the ball the other way, just put the ball in play and see what happens. And he hit one to right, he hit one to center, but I'd like to find out if any of these guys change their approach in the postseason. Do you do it, or you say, you know what, I'm just going to lock and load because this is, what I've been working on for 162 games.
But, the beautiful thing about the Braves lineup right now is this is our 5th trip through the postseason in a row. Yeah. And so there's a certain cocky swagger that you can see when Dansby comes walking up, and he's kind of looking like he's an old walking down a dirty road.
Would you remember those words later, cocky swagger? Because I want to talk about that when we get to the NFL too. I like that, a cocky swagger.
But at the end of the day, the Braves are good. They exude greatness. When you look at them, they look confident. There's nothing you're going to throw at us today that we haven't seen. I heard Swanson say after the first 2 games against Scherzer and DeGrom that, when they are that good, you have to just be looking for something you can do. It's not looking for your greatest pitch of all time. If there's any mistake, I need to shorten my swing. I need to do these things. And I think it's just a shame that the rest of the world gets to see Ronald Acuna coming on hotter than
I think this is
anybody in the world.
I think this is as long as we've ever talked about baseball.
It is. It's a sign of things to come, Chuck.
Is Bailey ready?
No. Molly's ready.
Molly ready?
Molly's ready.
Hey,
Molly.
Should I do a commercial real quick?
Yeah, let's do a commercial. Larry, let's just switch them to 5:30 and we'll do something else.
We're going to
Switch
do
them to
Modern
5:30.
Image.
We're going to do Modern Image now. So, go ahead, Robert.
Modern Image is a locally owned document and photograph scanning company that helps clients secure and use paper files and photos. Whether it's important business files or sentimental family photos and videos, Modern Image is dedicated to helping clients solve problems around paper.
Go Dogs.
Originally he had me read this because he didn't want to say that, and then
I thought I remembered that. Yeah. Carrick took UCLA too, so we went 2-2 on that one, and DTR laid it too. Washington.
You know, UCLA, you've seen their coach do it before. We might not like him.
Chip Kelly, right?
We might not this, but you know, you've seen him succeed with people who you don't, you know, oh, look at how's Foles doing with every other team he's ever played with. You know, this guy knows what he's doing.
DTR he's a good quarterback. So, and I was talking to Adam the intern before the show started. Do you remember when USC and UCLA was the game
Sure.
in the Pac-12 every year? That's been back when the Pac-12 was formidable. Is that what it's going to come down to this year? If UCLA beats Utah this week, and I think they're 4.5-point dogs at home to Utah. But if UCLA beats Utah this week, we've got a setup to where it can be UCLA and USC because they don't do divisions anymore in the Pac-12, right?
Correct.
They're like the two best teams with the best records are the ones that play for the championship.
So I didn't think it at the beginning of the year, but I looked at something earlier. I think they're first and second. So, you know, I don't think when UCLA and USC joined the Big Ten, everybody was like, oh, there go the best two teams. But at this point in time,
They are the best two teams out
they are
there.
the best two teams.
I mean, Oregon's played very well since getting
thrashing.
drubbed by Georgia, but I always
Utah.
bet on Oregon in my other football pool, but I just haven't been able to do it this year because I don't know what I'm going to get out of Oregon on a weekly basis.
Yeah, worth staying up late. There's several Heisman challengers and contenders out there. If you're up late on a Saturday,
How
I
often
am.
do you watch the 10 o'clock kickoff games?
Every week,
I knew
every
this
week,
guy did.
and not to mention the 11:30 on ESPN3. If somebody in my betting pool's on that game, I'm watching. I guarantee you that. So,
Colorado State at Nevada this weekend. Oh, I can't wait till 10:30
if Steve's
for that
on it,
one,
I'm
bad
on
boy.
it, baby. And we'll talk about that at Poker Friday night, so that's kind of fun. All right, I guess we need to get into making our picks for the week. We've got Robert, you picked the college this week, didn't you?
I did not. I came up with the pro.
Oh, then I came up with the college. That's right, I did, because you wouldn't have put Tech in there. So here we go. Tennessee laying 2.5 at LSU. It is not a night game in the Red Stick. It is actually a noon kickoff
Kickoff, which means it's 11
in Cajun
in
time.
Red
yes.
Stick.
So, Bill, who do you got?
I like Tennessee coming off the bye week.
Tennessee, did they have a bye week?
I'm not going to argue with the man.
He
No,
said
they
emph-
played
he said
Florida last
emphatically.
week. They played Florida last week, didn't they?
I read bye week.
That
Was
was,
that the
two
week
weeks.
before?
That was 2 weeks ago.
All right. Well, I'll say bye week. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're going to say it, but it sounds like you're saying it begrudgingly.
If Bill's right, Bill's right. And I'm always the first to admit
If
when
you
I'm
judge
wrong,
it by
if it ever
Bill's
happens.
fantasy team, he's probably right.
I would say that's probably a truism. So I would say that I watch College Fan Buzz on Mondays to try to get a feel for what's going on, and made a point that if Tennessee beats Georgia, and after what I saw, I actually watched Georgia and Missouri the other day, which shocked me in itself that I even watched that game. But the way they struggled with Kent State, the way they struggled with Missouri, I said, wow, you know, what if Tennessee beats these guys? Because they were talking on the playoffs and the College Fan Buzz things. But if Tennessee should beat Georgia, Georgia's out of the playoffs, right? Because even if Tennessee plays Alabama for the SEC championship and Tennessee loses, they're not going to put a one-loss Tennessee, get them out over Georgia. Robert obviously has a point to make about that.
No, I just have a question, Chuck.
Yeah.
The game is Tennessee at LSU. Why the hell are you talking about Georgia for the last 5 minutes?
Was it 5 minutes? Just making a point. No, my point was I want Tennessee to win this game because I want that scenario to come up.
I gotcha.
So that's why I bring it up. So I'll take Tennessee minus the 2.5.
And, you know, I hate to agree because I don't think whenever this panel goes three the same direction, I don't think we have a lot of good records on that. I'm going Tennessee as well. We've seen Brian Kelly. Maybe the pantry wasn't so full when we got there, and he thought it was, but I haven't seen anything out of them that makes me think that they're ready for Rocky Top.
Well, they struggled with a very bad Auburn team. Yeah. So they were what, down 17-0. Came back won 21-17, right? So I think Brian Kelly will get his national championship at LSU, but it's not going to be this year. So, but give him a couple of years to get his players in there.
Well, but keep in mind that it's sometimes hard to get players in if you're not winning these games. So when he loses a few of these games this year, it's not going to make his recruiting that much better next year.
Well, that happens. All right. So all three on Tennessee. Second game, Utah minus 4.5 against UCLA, the aforementioned DTR and company. I'll go first. I'm going to take UCLA again, kind of because I want to see that. Happen. I want the USC UCLA game to mean something like it used to, for the sake of college football and where it's heading. So I'd like to see that revitalized, and it's over. In 2 years when they move to the Big Ten? But it'll be UCLA versus USC, but it'll be in the Big Ten instead of the Pac-12. So I hope for the Pac-12's sake that's who it is. It's a good game, and
what's it going to be like when USC plays Stanford in the Rose Bowl?
that would be wild.
That
would be very wild. Yeah,
sooner or later.
That would be wild. All right,
Who
so I'm
you got in
taking
that
UCLA.
game?
Who you got, Brother Bill?
I think UCLA covers the 4,
God,
the
I
4.5.
4.5.
And I'm changing my pick. I'm going Utah just because these two numbskulls just said that. I can't line up with you both times.
On two
But
games,
I was thinking UCLA. I've been winning a few games on them this year.
There you go. All right, third game. Texas A&M getting 24 against Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Now, in the preseason, this was one of the games to watch.
It was the one game that people
The
were
number
all
one game this season to
based
watch.
on last year's game.
Are you saying it's no longer that rated
don't
that high,
know.
Bill?
Might want to rake some leaves or something.
Yeah. Robert?
Well, even with a backup quarterback, which once again I got to see on the plane, they pointed out. I think it was Blackledge. It presents a new problem to you because although they had the Heisman Trophy winner throwing it everywhere, he doesn't run the ball. Now all of a sudden you got to worry about a running quarterback who can throw the ball. So I don't think it bodes well for Texas A&M. They've looked like a garbage fire this entire year, whether not just the App State game, every game that they played, even games you thought that, well, surely they'll win this game by 50. No, they won't. And Alabama definitely has a memory longer than 1 year. So I'm going Alabama.
There's a
big.
bullseye on the Texas A&M's back this week, and Nick wants it bad.
Was there something that was said during SEC Coaches Week that might be getting pinned up on a few bulletins?
Yeah, that's a big point this week. I was going to bring that up. A little payback for Jimbo. So,
Yeah.
Bill, how about you? I got Bama too,
Yeah,
obviously.
I got Bama.
Well, it's a good
Maybe
thing
I
you
should
picked-
just go ahead and switch my Utah back to what I really thought.
All right.
Agree on everything.
My 2-win Yellow Jackets are hosting the Dukies, the Blue Devils from North Carolina, on Saturday, and they're getting 3 points. To be honest, I was blown away how small this spread was.
Duke's not really good.
They got beat by Kansas. It was the 19th ranked team in the country, but it was a close game.
But we all know Gail Sayers is looking really good out on the plains here lately.
And Duke beat, who was it, Virginia they beat this weekend? Beat them pretty soundly, but Virginia's a garbage fire too. But Tech had a great game against Pittsburgh. They ran the ball really well. I
They
think
tried to give it away there at the end. I almost texted you. Oh no! As soon as I got ready to text you, they started falling apart.
There you go. Well, it's funny. It was horrible weather, but it was a W for the Jackets. But that being said, I think the reaction of Tech winning after firing their coach was something with an inspirational thing. But I think they'll come back to earth this week and hold your horses. I'm taking Duke, laying the 3.
Yeah, I don't take Duke for anything. If there's a chance I could swerve and make Bobby Hurley's kids jump into a ditch or make Leitner's grandma scoot across the road a little faster, I would. I'll take Tech.
I wish I could take Tech, but
Yeah, and I'm taking Tech on their newfound confidence.
Newfound confidence. Hey,
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
You know, I watched Brent Key's interview after the game, and he was in tears, man. He was about to lose it. And he basically said, you know, these are great kids. They got a great work ethic. Somebody just needs to get them all on the same page.
Right, but
and I wonder what that said about Jeff Collins.
It really doesn't, because every time there's a coach ever fired, the guy who replaces him gives that same speech, you know, hey, it's all about the kids here and everything else. And it's got to be a euphoric feeling, you go to bed on a Sunday thinking, well, hey, this is me and my little job. No, sorry, you're on the front page of the paper in a big American city the next day, and then you come up with the W. That's huge.
It is huge.
Yeah.
All right. Last college game, the Dogs laying 29.5 at home against Auburn.
Go ahead and say it, Chuck. Take your team.
Auburn.
Thank you.
I think they stink. But what I've seen out of the Dogs the last 2 weeks, they got
30 points.
Their number one linebacker is out for the game, I read today. So I just don't think Georgia's going to cover 30 points.
Yeah,
if,
30. 30's too much.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. And, of course, this is probably when Georgia will win 50-0.
Yeah, I'm feeling better about my pick already.
Yeah, but I'm going to take Auburn.
I'm definitely going Dogs on this one. They have done nothing to make to earn this pick or anything else. But Stetson Bennett, I don't like him. He's like Doug Flutie, only he can't throw. And I have these arguments with all of my Bulldog friends. Well, he's he's done everything. You've got all these guys who are 6'5", 240, and when they go to the combine are going to pass the underwear test. And then you got Rudy over there, who's your starting quarterback. It didn't hurt him this week, but one of these games where they get 3 scores behind, and you've got to come out of a shotgun and you got to pass it 40 times in the second half. It's going to spell trouble. I think they take care of Auburn early and often.
Early and often. Bill, you're the tiebreaker, buddy.
Oh, he already called it.
Yeah. Auburn, 30 points is just, I think
Oh,
it's too
yeah,
much.
I heard you say that. All right. So we got a little bit of diversity. We were pretty close in the first couple of games. But we'll see what happens. Larry, we got anybody from Miller's ready? Or okay. All right. So let's go Bearcat Express, Robert. We do a couple of commercials for our sponsors.
Do you need a delivery right now? As in, go now, please? Bearcat Express has expedited shipping on hand-carried items, car, van, or pickup. Whether it's from Memphis to Charlotte, Atlanta to Athens, or Augusta to Dothan, and all points in between, we've got the drivers to get your stuff where it needs to be. Whether your passport is still on the dresser, your 7-iron isn't in your bag, or you have a dog that hates to fly, Bearcat Express, with their live tracking capabilities, is the team to turn to. We are the go-to courier in the Southeast. Check us out on BearcatExpress.com.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Blair Cook and David McDonough, for being our sponsors.
A lot of people ship transport their animals, on vacation and stuff. They transport their, you go on vacation to Florida, and you get somebody to drive your pet down there to be with you.
And I'm all about that, because I think you buying an airplane ticket and making me sit next to Fido makes me just want to meet you in the parking lot. It's like, I didn't buy this ticket so I could sit next to your whiny dog.
When you have to do that's very rough.
Well, and the other thing, and I know, no pun intended.
No pun intended. Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you go onto eBay or Amazon, you can buy these service dog things and just throw them on your dog and walk them wherever you want. And nobody, Paris Hilton, she's killed the travel industry as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, she did. All right, let's get into the NFL and what happened this week in the NFL. Well, first thing is the Falcons are 2-2 and tied for first place in the NFC South. So what's up with that?
Paul Chop said it would happen. Falcons are playing good. I said it before. They do not have a good roster, but these guys seem to really enjoy playing for him. If he's getting this much talent out of people that we don't know, I still don't think we're going to win a lot of games this year. I think we're going to come back and We'll see. Hopefully Ritter gets in soon because that's what we really need to find out this year.
Well, Mariota's not playing that bad.
He's
and
not
as long
playing
as
bad.
they've got an opportunity, and even at 2-3, if they lose this weekend, they're not out of it. The NFC is not strong, and the Falcons do have an opportunity to make the playoffs.
It seems like every year, you could almost divide the whole NFL into thirds. And so, there's some teams that are at the bottom, and there's some teams obviously at the top, and then there's these middle. I was looking at it this year, and it seems like half the league is just average.
At best.
And so they're 2-2, and there's
2
some
and 2.
1-3s, and even some 3-1s, and there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be. I was going to say 9-7, but they're 17 games, but 7-10.
I know, I have a hard time doing that same math.
8-9 and
8-9.
9-8, and I see a lot of things that they don't do well, but the defense does well. Besides that last collapse against the Saints in the second half,
And the Rams.
yeah, but it's Cordero Patterson, and so with him out, they were able to run the ball. That was pretty interesting.
Well,
And keep in mind with this defense that has looked pretty good. The picks have been getting. It's Drake London. It's Kyle Pitts. We have not been picking on that side of the ball with blue chippers. So these guys are playing well beyond their
well beyond
expectations.
their expectations. I would say that too. Speaking of unexpected things, have you ever seen a double doink like the kick?
double doink.
That was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Did you see that, Bill?
I did see it. I saw it live, and I
You
was
were in
trying.
London?
Yeah. At 9:30 in the morning or whatever
It's
it was.
cool to
but
have Sunday morning football.
It is, yeah. And I can't remember what happened, but there was something that happened prior to that where I think they lost a yard or two, or there was something, and that was the difference. It
Absolutely.
was 1 yard of
Absolutely.
field position, and would that thing have made it in there? And I was going online trying to research something happened. And I think the guy, maybe tried to go for extra yards and, got pushed back or something. But it was that 1 yard. And then sure enough, doink, doink. And
That was cool.
Well, you can watch a side judge on any given play run in and put his foot down. He got tackled 3 feet or a foot and a half in front, but does it really matter? It does. It does 17 plays later when there's a field goal.
There were a lot of measurement this week that really I thought the spotting was horrible.
Correct.
Yeah.
They have their new thing where they like to let the play go through. So, did Bill fumble? Well, we all know Bill didn't fumble, but we're still going to run around the field for the next 30 seconds. And I'm kind of tired of that, but I guess I like it better that
I get tired of all the replays, or not the replays, but the reviews. It just slows the game down so badly. I mean, there's always going to be human error in a ball game. I say just let it stand.
that's also a long ride home for the kicker. A regular plane flight is a long ride home. This one was, a lot longer.
Yeah.
He sat in the
Absolutely.
back there by himself and stewed for.
He's Georgia State grad, too, Will Lutz. Yeah. All right.
question for you.
I got one.
Do you know who has scored more points than any other team this year? What's the best offense in football?
I know the Falcons are number 4.
Fourth most points. Buffalo Bills look pretty badass. It's not them either.
No.
It is the
Seattle.
Detroit,
Detroit
Lions.
Lions.
Detroit Lions have scored 140 and have given up a league worst 141. They lead in both categories. It's so nearly impossible.
I would say they lead in one and they're last in the other.
Yeah.
one could say that, or hey, I'm just
Just another one of those average teams.
I had Detroit -4 this weekend, too. That didn't come out too good for me.
And then the other one I want to just get a little love to the Buffalo Bills defense. The Buffalo Bills have the most amazing offense in the world. For their defense to be good is super amazing because by the third and fourth quarter the other team's going to throw the ball 100 times, and nobody stops throwing in the NFL currently except for the Buffalo Bills.
And this was after they lost 4 players.
They're just doing an incredible job.
Incredible. And that was one of my next points. Baltimore has just blown it. the last 2 weeks, giving up the 6 touchdowns to Tua, and now what is that on the intern rate?
I think he's excited about the Lions.
Oh. So Baltimore blew it a 7-point lead against Tua, and he did the same thing this weekend against Josh Allen. So
So it looked like at the end of the game, there was a little controversy. You know, do you let them go in and score, and then you get the ball back and get a chance to bring it down the field? And apparently not everybody got the memo.
yeah.
Half the team did and half the team
half
didn't.
the team, yeah.
Well, I
that
don't know
doesn't
if-
work.
And then there was a fight right afterwards.
yeah.
I don't know if you saw the run or not, but I think Singletary went down. I think he thinks he could have scored. So whether they wanted to let him score, to me, is aside the point. I think Singletary would have gone down. They didn't want to score. So, I mean, he would have stood there at the 1 until
Yeah.
the clock ran out if he had to.
They didn't, but that's the way it should be coached. If you've ever heard of the play Miracle at the Meadowlands,
Oh, yeah.
and it's back when they didn't kneel. The Giants had the Eagles beat.
Joe Pisarcik.
All they had to do is kneel twice and the game's over. But instead, Herm Edwards ends up picking up a fumble, running 40 yards. And, after that, the game changed. Everybody kneels on the ball.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, everybody will be on that same page. But it definitely didn't look like they were this time.
Yeah, I don't think they would have scored. I think they would have just taken the knee, or not taken the knee, but fall down at the 1. It's not really taking the knee. Like
The same way
victory
you push
formation.
the same way you push a pile, nobody has a problem, because that used to be illegal, but now it's
Right.
not illegal.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, if I come up there and we bear hug around it, and then you just come up there and knock the pile in the end, plenty of ways to do it, but they got lucky.
They did. All right, the last NFL thing I wanted to talk about was Mahomes versus Brady. I thought all the people on the pregame show, this is going to be a low-scoring affair, maybe 14-10 or 17-14 or whatever. And, man, Mahomes lit it up. Not enough, obviously, but he lit it up. And what were the 2 words you were talking about earlier that I said remember for when we get to NFL?
I don't remember things like that.
I think Tom Brady's there. I think Tom has had it. He doesn't have the fire in his eyes when I watch him. He can still throw the ball, but he just doesn't have that passion. So when I look at him playing Sunday night, it just didn't seem like he cared if he was there or not. And I don't believe that to be true. But the guy's 45 years old, and I've said this all along. At some point in time, it's got to stop. And I think it's now there again.
What do you think, Bill?
I think Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, some of these guys, I don't know, did you see the little spin move? So, he's not a big guy. He's running down there, waiting for the play to develop, down by the end zone. And you've got these 300-pound linemen bearing down on you, and you decide to do a little spin move and then a little, little poof pass, and it's just incredible. That's something that you can't teach, and it makes him and Jackson and Cardinals quarterback. These guys
Kyler
are just,
Murray.
Yeah. Just incredible.
No, absolutely. And, going back to what you said, Chuck, I've been telling people for the last 3 months, this Braves team is better than last year's Braves team. But to win in any sport, you have to get, the lightning in the bottle. So many different things have to go your way. It doesn't look like Tampa has anything going their way. And Jim Brady's not used to that. He's used to having old Belichick's defense to where he knows, I only have to score 17 a few times a year because that defense is going to shut somebody down. He's looking a little panicked.
And the game that they had the week before when Green Bay went to Tampa Bay hasn't won at home yet this year. They're 0-2. They've lost to Green Bay and they lost to Kansas City.
Getting ready to lose again.
I hope so, but we'll see. Like I said, I just don't think Brady's got the fire. I don't know if it was just 11 days he took off during training or whatever.
Well, he's got a wide receiving core that he just has to pick up the paper every day. It's like, out, questionable, doubtful, and it's not a pretty picture.
Yeah, and we'll get. I think they're in our picks for the week, so we'll talk about that. Any other memorable things from the NFL this weekend that we want to talk to before we get into our picks?
Jalen Hurts looks good. That Eagles team, they're tough. They're looking
6-0,
really tough.
4-0 right now, right?
19-0.
But I thought Jacksonville would give them a little bit better game than they did.
That's
Trevor had a tough game, but how much has he changed over a year? He played so much better this year.
Correct,
than
but
he did last year.
he had a game not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and everybody was touting it. It was the coming of Trevor. His big. It was 275 yards and 2 scores. So I'm just, for a guy who we've said is going to be Peyton Manning for so long, I'm still not quite there. Although he's got a horrible roster as well.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but
Yeah.
not good.
I think Doug Peterson's a good coach for him. He's
Very good
he coached a lot of good quarterbacks. So, all right, well, let's get – Larry, you're looking at me like you're puzzled. You okay? All right. So let's get into our pro picks for the week. We got about 10 minutes to go over those. Green Bay, -8 at home against the New York Giants.
Let me take this one, Chuck.
All right.
The New York Football Giants. They got Saquon Barkley. This guy drafted him in our league, and that's when I knew I was getting somebody good. I knew it was okay when somebody took Brady and then somebody took Burrow, but it was when you said Saquon, I was like, I'm getting some true talent. Saquon's been playing his butt off, and although I'm still not in love with Mr. Jones, I'm going to take the 8 big points and the New York Football Giants on the road.
After watching the Packers play against the Patriots the other night, I think Green Bay will win this game, but I think it's going to be very similar to what they just faced against who was it? Oh, the Patriots. Yeah, I think the Packers will win, but I don't think they'll cover the 8.5. I think that's too many points.
Yeah. G-men.
G-men, all 3.
Yeah.
Oh, God, here
That's
we
a
go
loss.
again. Here we go again. All right.
3 for 3
Three
never
experts.
works.
We're experts.
Same way on game day. They don't all 4 pick the game because that's the way it goes. The Jalen Hurts Eagles -5.5 at Arizona.
Kyler Murray, I drafted him in my big league, and so underwhelming. You're waiting to see him do what Jalen Hurts does, and you're waiting to see him do what Lamar Jackson does, and you think he's got better talent than those guys, but it's still not happening. It is a hard place to play, though. They're going 3 hours away. I'm going to go the Cardinals.
God, I hated that you said that because I'm going to go with the Cardinals, too. I think Philadelphia's not played the best teams yet. A couple of weeks ago, I played Larry and Adam, the intern, in
How'd
the
that game
Fantasy
work out
Football
for you?
League. Well, at halftime, Jalen Hurts had nada. I think less than a point. And then the next half, it was like, who turned him on? He scored like 30 points in that period. So I really I think Arizona will do enough to stay in the game. I think they're a decent enough team to get within the 4.5 or 5.5. So I'll say Philly by 4, but I'll take Arizona in the points.
I think Philly's a strong overall team. I don't think they're going to go 9-0, and it's like they're 4-0 and they can do no wrong. But I do think I'm going to take Philly in the desert. They're going to lose a few games, probably just not this week.
That was a wise pick. When we agree and you get to go last,
That's a
definitely
good
do
thing
not
for
agree
you.
with us.
Ah, the producer's in our ear.
Yeah. All right. Cincinnati +3 at Baltimore. I'll go first. I think Baltimore has had enough of getting beat at home by teams they shouldn't lose to. And they've taken a beating the last 2 weeks. And, everybody gave Harbaugh a hard time about going for the touchdown on 4th down instead of kicking a field goal and going up. I thought that was a very interesting take. But he said in the postgame, he said, well, we didn't want to give them just a chance to go down and kick a field goal and tie it. We wanted to score a touchdown to tie it, which I didn't follow.
It made no sense.
But with J.K. Dobbins back now, and Cincinnati's not playing that great, I think J.K. Dobbins will probably take this game over and run through Cincinnati. And I'm going to take Baltimore.
I've never really I enjoyed the hype and the story last year with Cincinnati and the run that they made at the end. but coming into this year, I still thought that they were just a mediocre team, and Joe Burrow is exceptional, but I like Baltimore at home on this one.
Is it a 3 for Robert?
It definitely is not, but I didn't change this pick just because of what they said. I was already going Cincy on this.
All right.
So I'm going Cincy plus the 3. Something you said about that Harbaugh thing that got me thinking about something I said 4 months ago. Tony La Russa is retiring. You know, when you do dumb things as a coach, it's hard to recover from it because you get analyzed. You know, if you did something dumb 30 years ago, there wasn't the internet. So if he didn't read it in the next day's paper, it just goes on for him. This stuff doesn't, and he's having a hard time because that team's always been defense first. So having a couple leads and watching them slip away, I'm going Cincinnati. Plus, Jamar Chase, I think, only had like 3 targets the last game.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the ones where they go, all right, we're sorry, Jamar. We're going to
He
throw it
needs
at
30
you.
targets, yeah.
17 targets today, and they run away with it.
All right. Denver laying 3.5 against Indianapolis at home at what used to be Mile High Stadium. It's in Vesco Field or something like that.
Everything. It's always going to be Heinz Field, just for the record. I
Yeah,
will never say
all right.
whatever that new one. I put $100 on this team to win the Super Bowl before the season started. They are 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 tie. That's not very good. Jonathan Taylor has already been ruled out for that game. He is not playing. I'll take the Colts. It's on Matty Ryan's shoulders, and I think he lives some through.
Yeah, Russell Wilson hasn't really lived up to the hype yet
Yeah,
in
no.
Denver.
He has not.
Of course, neither has Matt Ryan. So I don't know what's going up there, but I saw that JT was out. But something about the way Denver's playing. I mean, they struggled to win 11-10 against San Francisco. San Francisco's a good team. That was a very, very low-scoring affair. I have Indy on my sheet, too, because I wrote it down. But I think I'm going to change just because I don't want to pick with you.
That's good.
So I'm going to say Russell Wilson busts out this week, and I'm going to go Denver.
You'll notice if you watch weekly that by the end of the year, he's going to pick opposite of me just about every game, and that's because he's going to be so many behind me that he is forced.
I don't know
to
where
change
we
his
are. You're
pick.
probably a little bit ahead right now.
Probably just a little.
Yeah. All right, Billy Boy.
2 average teams, Indy at home. I think they're a little bit better than 1-3-1. So yeah, they'll get their second win. They'll be 2-3-1.
2-2-1.
2-2-1.
Yeah, they've only
But you
played
know,
4. All right.
Something I've always pointed out, whenever there's a tie, those are always the teams that get that last wild card spot. When you're looking late in the season, and all of a sudden it's 7-7-1, and that difference, it always comes home to roost.
Do you like that? Do you like having ties in the NFL, or would you like to see them do something like college?
After I heard about Pat tie-dye and it was the same as kissing your cousin and all that other stuff, I decided I did not like the tie. But what's always really funny is these people in the NFL who still don't know the rules. I think it was who was the Steeler running back, Le'Veon Bell. They were in one and they were like,
I remember that.
"You mean the game ends this way?"
Yeah.
I didn't know the game ended this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and it did 2 years ago and 3 years ago. No
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, our last game.
Don't you think that there's got to be some sort of coaching simulators? I mean, all these bad coaching decisions that get made, bad clock management, bad, kicking the or going for the 2 instead of the 1, and just all these decisions. It's always easy to second guess somebody, but there's just a lot of them. There's got to be a program that one of these,
I think
brilliant
it is.
interns
But
can write.
coaches like Harbaugh and stuff, they just don't follow it.
And
Well-
it's a little bit of pregame, preseason training when these, scenarios come up. I mean, Arthur Smith has blown a few. I mean, it seems like there's so much of that.
But
in
nobody's
the NFL.
quite like Dan Quinn, so I don't know if you
Well,
remember
yeah,
this.
I do. I
But-
do.
But do you remember what Dan Quinn hired? And
hired-
he never actually took the field because he was hired, I believe, in April or May, and then he got a different job in July, and so he never actually. But the Atlanta Falcons hired a guy who would say when to challenge, when to go for 2, and when to use your timeouts. And you think this is rudimentary to be a football coach. But,
Right.
Obviously, I might get the most out of you doing this or that or the other, and, I don't understand anything. But, it's crazy. It's crazy. Dan Quinn's still the only person, I believe, who's ever taken that road and said, okay, I'm not good at any of this. You can have all of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dan Quinn, our last game is his ex-team, the Atlanta Falcons. They're traveling down to Tampa Bay, and they are 8.5-point underdogs to Brady and the Bucks. Brady, that's like a Benny and the Jets song. Bill, why don't you go first on this one?
8.5 is a lot. I think Tampa Bay's going to win, but I think Atlanta will cover the spread against Brady and the Bucks.
Yep.
I have to go Atlanta. That's who I am. I went, just on a side note, I wore my Falcons jersey while in Yellowstone, drove out the west entrance to West Yellowstone, Montana, and went to the Buffalo Bar and watched an afternoon's worth of games. And I asked the one guy in there, I said, so you guys are from Montana. Who do you root for? And he said, well, Broncos would be the number one, little bit of Seattle, but anything but California. Nobody puts a California. That's the rule if you live out there.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, we got our picks down laid for the week.
What'd you take on that one?
Huh? Oh, I'm going to take the Falcons. I got the Falcons, too.
I want to hear it.
Again, I don't think they're going to win. I hope they do, but I think eventually Tom's going to have the game. And without
I would
Cordero
like to see-
Patterson,
I- you
although
know-
I liked, Huntley, the guy that
Yeah.
I couldn't believe they cut him after the preseason. He had a very good preseason, Caleb Huntley, and I think Algiers running the ball pretty good. So I don't think they'll lose a lot. They might lose a little dynamic speed that Cordero has, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
The running back core looked really good in the second half of that last
Yes, they
game.
did.
Yeah.
Huntley,
No matter
Huntley
who
went
was
crazy,
in there.
yeah. So it was good. So we'll take the Falcons. Real quick, we're a little bit over time. Bill and Robert are both undefeated in our fantasy football league for helping one guy. I am 1-3. Larry and Adam the intern are 2-1. Is that right?
2-2.
1-2.
2-2.
Oh, 2-2. We played 4 games. Oh, yeah, that's right.
1-3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, I get so used to losing. But I am, like Bill said, second in the league in scoring. I just can't. My defense stinks, and Larry's whoever I've been playing against, they've been blowing up on the weeks that I played them. That's just the way it happens. In
The biggest
fantasy.
problem with your team right now is that Saquon is delivering,
Yeah.
and you're not winning because sooner or later Saquon's going to take a nap.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We hope not. But guys, thanks for being with us. Don't forget we're helping one guy. They're having their dinner next Wednesday night. If you want to go out to the church and support helping one guy, we're happy to have Bill with us. Bill, thanks for coming out and joining
my
us
pleasure.
today on Three
Enjoyed
Guys
it.
Who Love Sports. And if you want to be on Three Guys Who Love Sports, you can text us at 470-7-SPORTS, 470-7-SPORTS. Tell us what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, and we will get you on here to talk some sports. Until then, guys, know your numbers, cover your ass, get your prostate checked. See you later.
Bill, I'll see you week at 7.
Sean, your Jets won this weekend. Are you happy with your Jets?
Yeah, I mean, this is like the second time this season I get to say Jets win. I get 2 more. But Chuck, 1-3, those are rookie numbers, man. You got to pump those numbers up.
I know. I suck.
He was here during the draft. Every time I'd walk in, he'd go, "How you doing?" I'm like, "They're leaving me all sorts of people."